What makes you feel old when you think about it? How far I've got to scroll down when imputing my age on websites and so on. You get good at just giving it a flick and catching it as it goes by. I've got to spin that list like the big wheel on Price is Right. Noticing that most professional football players and gamers are younger than me. I'm 29 and that's been true for like 7 years. You're not old until most of your doctors are younger than you are. When I was at my friend's house and complimented his grass. Hey, I used to do that back in my early 20s. Okay, so maybe I did work for a landscaping service and spent 60 hours a week cutting grass, but still. I never wanted to be this person, but the grass made me this way. After buying a house with a flat yard that always floods, I'm more likely to admire a house for its natural yard drainage than a big fancy house. My daughter will turn 40 in a year. You have been through a lot, oh wise one. I was about to post a comment, but I'm not even going to now. This tops it lol. You're not old. Your daughter's old. We need to come up with a new word for what you are. My new younger girlfriend never heard of Rocky. Regular everyday automobiles that were driving the streets when I was younger are now considered classics. Have you heard of Radwood? It's a car show for vehicles built in the 80s and 90s. They're classics now. I really want to go to the show, but they don't do it anywhere near me. I have now, and am going to check that out for sure. Thanks. I wanna see people trick out 80s-era Plymouth Voyagers Dodge Caravans in weird ways. I missed the Philly one. The pictures looked incredible. The fact I've started referring to 19 to 22-year-olds as younger folk. I've started to refer to them as college kids. Because, when you're in your 40s, 19 to 22 still seems like a kid. A lot of the younger cats in my local music scene call me Baldy and Old Man. I call them young'uns, and tell them I've forgotten more than they'll ever know. It's all in good fun though. I'm only 25, and I see them as kids too. We don't mature as quickly as we think we do. The fact that I wouldn't be considered a younger folk by you. Two of my housemates are 21 and 23 years old. Because I know them as my friend's younger brother and his girlfriend, I frequently refer to them as the children. Except I'm 23 myself. I graduated high school in 1993. That was last century. Hey, that's when I graduated high school. Go class of 93. But not too fast. Don't want to hurt our backs or knees. I graduated high school in 1975, 40 years ago. I was born in 93. I have been out of college 3 years. Whippersnapper. Seriously, I would trade places with you in a heartbeat, as long as I can keep my present knowledge and experience. When you think about it, it was last millennium. I was about to post the same thing, then I realized that distinguishing things between this millennium and the last also makes me feel old. When your favorite bands from high school are on classic rock stations. I was listening to the radio and they were playing Billy Joel. It was nice, until the announcer declared that this was the oldest station. Billy Joel isn't oldest. Shakes fist at clouds. Dude, I've heard 90s music on our long-running classic rock station here in KC. I grew up listening to the station, and it played Styx, Rush, Stones, Beatles, and now they have added Pearl Jam, Live and Nirvana to the rotation. Rock classics are timeless, so to me the classic term refers to great songs that can withstand the test of time. I hear RHCPs on some of the classic stations and think I remember when this song came out. I've heard Sublime on the classic rock station. Sublime isn't class rock. A kid asked me what 9/11 was like when it happened. 9/11 is being taught in history classes now. There are adults who could ask you the same thing now. I often play Counter-Strike against players who weren't born when Counter-Strike first came out, and sometimes they call me noob. When you remember the days before Steam. I regularly play against kids who were born after Source came out, and I still consider Source to be new Counter-Strike. Minecraft has been around for 10 years. Yeah, I started playing it in 2012. I started in 2013, and I got nightmares after my first night. A creeper blew me up, then I saw my dead body in monster school being dissected by a zombie professor for his skeleton students. I played a while ago. I got claustrophobic when I was building an underground tunnel maze in creative mode and couldn't find the exit. I finally used a mod to jump to the surface, went back to the maze, and found that I had accidentally bricked over the entrance exit. My dad had a 1957 Chevy when I was born. I thought the car was ancient when I was little. Now I realize a car from the year I was born is older than the 57 Chevy was when I was born. This feels like a math problem I'm too dumb to solve. I read 1984 in high school, and at the time, 1984 felt so far in the future. When I noticed the generation gap, this morning I said to a medical receptionist, same bad time, same bad channel, and she looked at me with a blank stare. To be fair, what the duck does that mean? Point taken. I guess anyone under about 40 would not get this reference. What really makes me feel old is when I see a celebrity, usually a musician or entrepreneur, reach the peak of their career and then find out they are younger than me. Now I feel both old and unsuccessful. Books I bought new have yellowed on my shelf. I'm old enough to the mother of at least half of the members of the local sports team. In fairness, it's a young enough team. With that kind of ambition, it could also be a much older sports team. I had to have surgery last week, and the surgeon looked like T.J. Hauser. And, you know who T.J. Hauser is. I was a teenager before the internet was a thing. Similar, I spent 11 years of my life without the internet. Some kids have never gone 11 days without broadband. I was born in the time of the VHS, saw the rise of the DVD, the momentary rise of Blu-ray, and saw the rise of the DVR. I saw the fall of Blockbuster and the rise of movie television streaming service. Now, I'm sitting here, watching television become obsolete. I'm only 24. That's just the beginning of upheaval we'll go through during our lifetime in terms of technology. When I was a kid, the first Pokemon games were a thing of wonder, with 150 Pokemon. Then Mew and GP showed up, and it was like, oh dear. Now there's 807 of them, not counting form changes, Mega Evolution, Alolan forms, the new generation that's coming out right around the corner. I'm excited for it, just makes me feel old. Or to quote the guy from every Pokemon game, science technology is amazing. A greater amount of time has passed between my birth and now than had passed between the end of WWII and my birth. I have spent over half my life as a legal adult. The 90s ended almost 20 years ago. I know fully grown functional adults who don't remember what life was like without the internet or mobile phones. One of my best friends from school is now a grandfather. The kid from the Karate Kid is almost 60 years old. Time for a Karate Kid sequel where the kid takes on Mr. Miyagi's role and teaches someone new. Have you not heard of Cobra Kai on YouTube? I still think of WWII as 30 years ago. Danielson is now older than Miyagi was during the first movie. A friend reminded me the other day on Facebook that our college graduation was 20 years ago. That 2000 was almost 20 years ago. This one for sure. My memories of 1999 don't seem that long ago. When, in my youth, I thought the millennium was decades away, it was. People who graduate high school this year were 1 year old when I graduated. Go to work and see kids born in 2010, the year I graduated. Post 2001 people still creep me out. They never knew a USA that was less tense. Having to scroll down the date of birth tab when I'm registering in some website. I remember when we weren't at war. What's it like to be 243 years old? That most of my friends are starting to forget Minecraft. Looking up music videos. They are little snapshots of things I thought were so cool or innovative that have not aged well. Example, Alien Ant Farm's cover of Smooth Criminal is really good. The video is a snapshot of the clothing that was big then and the weird popularity of backyard wrestling. Still one of my favorite song covers ever though. That and the Headstones, Tweeter and the Monkey Man. That 1980 was almost 40 years ago, and next year this will be my age. When my niece had no clue how to open the non-electric window in my vehicle. When all my friends starting to not going out anymore. When my niece tells me episode I was the first Star Wars. My cousins are in high school now. I remember when they were babies, seems like just yesterday. When I'm asked by my kids to define when I did something relative to their age, my memory isn't perfect, and when I start to cross-reference the time, it is years more than I thought. For example, when I first got in trouble with the police, I was 13 at the time and now I'm 43. Telling my 18-year-old son that the years seem staggering. That the year 2000 was 19 years ago. It still feels like 5, and I don't know why. I remember a time when 8-track tapes were common. When people don't know what VHS tapes are, I'm only 23 and some people think I'm crazy when I say something about VHS tapes. They look at me like I'm from outer space. My friends hot are my age have kids. I was 8 years old when Iron Man came out, more than a decade ago. All of the babies I used to know have graduated high school and have their own babies. Also seeing Tupac and Eminem fanboys growing up into mumble rappers cause they have no talent SMH. I used to be younger than NFL players. Now they are younger than me. Thanks Juju. Playing Snake on a Nokia phone when I was 3. The cost of goods and services. When I started driving gas was $1 per gallon. I remember Burger King had 99-cent Whoppers and $2.99 Whopper value meals. $7 including tip for a regular haircut. 1 penny a stick for bazooka gum with a comic on the wrapper. And of course the thrill of richness when I started earning minimum wage. $4.75 hours. I think my first job earned me a whopping $3.15 hours. It was part-time at a movie theater. We were impressed if we got a paycheck over $200. I'm 36. Babies born the year I graduated high school are now graduating high school.